Hey, everybody. Welcome once again to the Life Warrior United podcast. I want y'all to welcome somebody that I met not too long ago who I was on his podcast just not long ago. And I met him through, he had my daughter on a podcast of his telling her story about AI crimes and how she's dealt with that. So that was really cool. But that's how I met him. But this is Justin Allen Hayes. Justin is the founder of, you can see his shirt there, Voices for Voices. And Justin's focus is helping people with mental illness and things of that nature. Much larger scale, of course, just not just mental illness. But his Voices for Voices is basically a platform to try and people to tell their stories, kind of like Life Warrior. Very similar. And so I appreciate him having my wife and daughter on for that. But I'm going to let Justin kind of tell his story a little bit. Justin, y'all, he's like everybody else in this world. He has a Life Warrior story. He's successful. He's, college degree, professor, author, husband, father, a founder of Voices for Voices. Like I said, House of You. There's a website. Is it House of You? Is that right? And so, a successful guy, but he too has a Life Warrior story, and that's what we're here to talk about tonight because it's an important one. It's something that people all over the world go through, and mental health is a huge, huge thing right now. And him and I have that in common. I fought through my own, PTSD issues for quite a few years and went down some dark paths. And I know Justin did too. And so I want him to tell that story. But again, y'all, the most important part of this Life Warrior story is you see him sitting there, again, husband, father, has his own podcast as well. And he was able to fight through all of that and come out on the other side and do big things to help people. So that in the end is going to be the message once again, but everybody knows you got to fight through some stuff sometimes. So y'all, welcome Justin Allen Hayes, to the Life Warrior podcast, man. I appreciate you coming on. And so tell a little bit about yourself and your history, and then we'll get into the real stuff.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Mark, and Life Warrior United story that you have with being a founder and sharing that through a platform like this is just amazing. Talking about things is hard. It's something that, especially the things that we're talking about, a lot of it we like to keep inside. So with I've had, I guess, some accomplishments, done some pretty cool things. Got to write a couple books. I've been teaching for 10 years in the classroom. Played sports growing up. Just kind of all American story. And what really started to, I guess, veer me off course was being in high school, not fitting in, being bullied to an extent. I had severe acne, so my face was always constantly broken out. I was constantly picking at it, and I'm sure that didn't help. And those types of things precluded me from, I guess, being in the cool kids, going to the cool kids parties and the hanging out. And I really didn't. I guess it's been a number of years since I really looked back and looked at this kind of inflection point of, okay, maybe this type of mental health, this type of thinking came in at quite an earlier age than I really thought. And when it did, it is one of the bands that I was in for a short period of time. the band was called Seclusion, and that couldn't have really described my personality and things that were going on in my life. I was transitioning in high school from what I felt like should have been on varsity sports, and that wasn't happening. Uh, Went to private school, and there were kids that had families with a lot of money, doctors, lawyers, attorneys, and I'm driving, an Astro minivan, sand brown in color, and I just really just didn't fit in. Now I know that's okay, and I didn't have to. Uh, but those thoughts, I think, were manifesting themselves into the next area where I overdosed on 32 cold and cough medicine pills, just regular. Just go in and go over the counter. Don't need a prescription.
Yeah.
And that came from me being in the group of friends that I was in, which wasn't good. The individuals that, again, hindsight's always 20/20.
Right.
And so I was in that, I guess, that no man's land of wanting to fit in with a group, with people that have something to do. And that was, growing up, oh, well, let's try things we shouldn't be doing. Oh, well, let's try to find somebody to get us some alcohol, try to get us into parties, get some, drugs, ecstasy, what have you. And that turned into, okay, well, we can go into the CVS or Walgreens and grab a few of these. And the overdose started probably about 3 weeks prior, where we, being myself and a couple of the friends I had, we took, I think, maybe 10 or 12 one time. And we're like, wow, this is cool, and let's do more next week. And so my competitive nature really led to taking the 32. So we had each on that fateful night went into the Walgreens. I don't know if it's Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid at that time, and we both. All of us purchased 2 packages of these cold and cough pills, and I was a passenger, and so I wasn't driving, and so my friends were like, "Oh, well, we'll take 16," and everyone said, "Oh, I'll take 20." And so me being competitive in the worst sense, I took 32. I'm like, "I one up you," like, and I landed in the emergency room. They would pump my stomach. If they friends at the time, if they didn't take me to the hospital, doctor said I would have probably passed away just because of what was in my system.
Right.
And from that period on, went into alcohol abuse, being in college, partying, and then just thought, hey, that's just what you're supposed to do.
Right.
We work, and then we go to classes, and then we go out, and we stay out till all hours. We do things that are what we look at as dangerous activities, and that's really what led me down to where I hit rock bottom 7 years ago.
So 7 years ago, that though, when you started like the cold and cough medicine, how old were you then?
Oh, is 17 or 18. I think 18 when I ended up in the hospital because I was working a summer job working at a golf course, mowing grass between my senior year in high school and then starting college.
So all of that, I mean, you think about it, from 17 till how old were you? How old? Yeah. So that's the thing people don't understand is that, and I understand that I was a college athlete, but same, right? A lot of drinking, a lot of partying, and man, I've had that conversation with guys before, and you look back and you go, man. Then you get into, life, and you start, hanging out. Like I was in the gym industry for a while, and then fire department, and you realize, you look back and you've carried that same lifestyle from the time you were 17 all the way till you're in your 30s, and you're like, man, this ain't good. This
No,
is not how things are supposed to be going, right? And so, man, I get that. And you go, man, how many people get caught in that? And in the fire department, I realized how many people get caught in it and can't get out. And then it's too late. So 37 years old,
mhm.
you've reached that point, and so that's where is this where the breaking point came at that
Oh,
time?
yeah.
Okay, so start there then. How'd that go?
Uh, yeah. The, I guess the big thing looking back, I was letting situations, relationships, just everything. I was letting them just stack up like dominoes in my mind, and I wasn't sharing it with anybody because I'm a guy, so like I'm supposed to be able to get through this. So I'm googling things, I'm doing this, I'm doing all these activities, and I have all these accomplishments, which on paper, I mean they're great, but it kept it being the experiences, things I just weren't dealing with. That one night I was sitting at home and I had heard somebody talking about journaling,
Yeah,
and,
no, yeah,
and so I was like, I am just at a point where I wasn't eating much. I had dropped 30 pounds, and it wasn't really my choice. I was feeling, I guess the best way to describe it, I was just feeling like everything I was eating that I was allergic to my body just was rejecting it. And it wasn't that I was throwing up or anything like that. It was just my mind had overtaken not just my mind but my body. So I was remember a couple of years prior to 37 where I'd be working at the office and there'd be these huge demands of deadlines and getting things done, and oh, here's a last minute thing to get done. And so lunch will get pushed from 12 to 1 and then 1
yeah,
to 2, and then I'm like, well, I'm going to leave at 5, I got 3 hours, so should I just wait? And so then there'd be days where I would just be on that pure, I guess, adrenaline, uh, and not a good way, because there were so many things I was thinking about, and I had nobody to talk to because I didn't want to, I guess. And then when I started at 37, when things were really creeping up, where my weight was decreasing, I'd be driving and I would be at a red light and have a total panic attack, like thinking like I'm gonna pass out. I'm not gonna be able to get through this. So I remember my now wife, fiance at the time, we had went to dinner, and we were supposed to go to dinner. And on my way, I had a panic attack. So I pulled over. I was getting lightheaded, like blurriness, as if I like was intoxicated. And I had
yeah.
to pull over in some random neighborhood, and she had to come get me and take me back home. And I look back at these things, and she's questioning like, "Oh, you really don't want to spend time with me
Oh
this
man,
way?" And so I was like, "Oh my god, this is this this is isn't good." And like I said, I was having the accomplishments. I had just published my first book, and so the weight gain or the weight loss, what was happening. I was starting to pull away from activities. So instead of teaching, I was coming up with excuse, because I'm like, if I'm having a panic attack driving, how am I going to be in front of a class of 100 or 50? I'm gonna I'm gonna pass out.
right?
And then I was getting on this. Oh well, I got to eat super healthy, and then I was cooking supposed healthy food, and then I was still feeling that my body was rejecting it. And what had happened is my body was just like lost. It was just starting to eat muscle and bone. I think it was just not good. Um,
Yeah.
and so that took me to the medical side, where I went to the ER 3 times in a week. They would they would check the labs and say, "Oh, you're fine. You're not dying right now." And I'm like, I feel like I'm going to pass out. I'm having palpitation. And I couldn't drive. So I had my dad to drive, 40 minutes, come take me,
Right.
because my wife had to work the next day, and things were just building up. And it wasn't until I was, and then doctors galore, because I was trying to find somebody to help me,
Yeah.
but I didn't know what that looked like. And so I was in my dad's truck, I remember, because I was thinking like, oh, do I have some type of disease? Do I have cancer? Do I have an STD? Like, and then like all these things. And so I would go to the doctor and get all these tests, and
Right.
everything would come back. Be like, okay, oh, do I have HIV? Maybe I do. Let me go get that checked. And then so the day where kind of everything, actually looking back, was one of the best days of my life. I was in the car, or in my dad's truck. We're on the way taking lab results from one doctor to another, and I felt like I was like blacking out in his car, like almost like dying. Like, this is my life, this flashing uh, in front of my eyes. And so he had to pull over on the side of the street, call 911, had the squad come. They gave me a little oxygen, and they're like, your heart rate like super high. What's going on? And I'm like, I feel like I'm dying, like I'm blacking out, like everything on black. And so they took me to the hospital, and it wasn't until that point, which ended up being, I guess, the third visit, where the staff started to take things from a psychological side serious. And so I was like, my stomach's hurting, and I was, well, I'm not eating. So I had
Right.
a PET scan, and everything was coming back okay. And then finally, in a good way, the psych staff came in, and they started asking me, was I thinking about harming myself? Uh,
Yeah.
and then they gave me that choice. They're like, you're not dying right now. And outside of the hospital, I was going through trying to reach a counselor and that referral process. And they're like, well, you're not dying right now. We can get you in 2 months. Well, that
Oh,
wasn't, I'm not going to make it out today. Like,
yeah.
uh,
Like,
and so
yeah.
they gave me a choice. They said, we're not going to pink slip you, but you're not dying right now. But we have 2 or 3 different wings, but we have a bed on kind of the lowest wing. Because then I started thinking, are these people going to try to fight me? And I'm like what's
Right.
going to go on? Like, now it's getting like serious. Uh, and so at that point that it was happening, me and my wife had just been married not even 6 months. And so I'm in the hospital bed. I'm like, what do I do? And I had always had answers up till that. I could
Right.
always get through that situation till the next thing, till the next thing. And she's like, they said the average is, maybe 5 days, it, and maybe this is, it's up to you. You got to make the call. And then I think to myself, like, well, like, if I don't do something now, I don't know what's going to happen if I leave. And so I admitted myself, they put you on suicide watch every 15 minutes when you're sleeping and everything. You're up to
Oof.
make sure that you're not, uh, going to harm yourself. And that was the first time where I didn't have my phone. I didn't have any, I guess, outside influence. It was just
Right.
me and the doctors and therapists. And I sat around the table the following morning, because it was like 3 a.m. when I got admitted. And I remember thinking, look, I'm the only person that's going through this. And then I sat around that table, and there was 10 or 11 other people. And then we went around, hey, why are you here? And everybody had a story. And I'm like, my story's a little bit different, but it's not that different.
Right.
And these are some of the strongest people that I know, because to go through something like this is not easy. To kind of like say, hey, like, I need, higher power to take care of me right now.
Right. Yeah. That, and man, and here's the thing about, and you talk about men, and this is why I'm trying to, I'm trying to get more men involved and having telling these stories, because you know as well as I do. I mean, there's a larger percentage of men that commit suicide and things like that. And part of that is I was the same, man. PTSD and fire department. And when I came up and came through it, it was you know don't be a sissy. You know, just suck it up. Yeah, I know you saw this 13-year-old kid that put a 20 gauge in his mouth on Thanksgiving in his parents' bathroom, but hey, suck it up. And so that's exactly what you did. You just kept your mouth shut, right? Until, it was the same thing. It was that same epiphany of, man, if I don't do something, if I don't, you know, where you're instead of waiting, and it took me same 6-7 years to go, man. Yeah, if I don't do something, I'm not gonna make it. I'm not gonna make it if I don't do something. And so, to me, that's an important message of this. One of the Life Warrior messages is, if just because you're a guy, just because you're a man, doesn't mean that you can't break, because you 100% can. And, I've got enough firefighter and military and police officers and from all walks of life that have broken. And I can tell you 100%, I made those calls this time of year, Thanksgiving and holidays and stuff. I made those calls where men made that ultimate choice of, I can't do it anymore. And, and so, and I got to watch the devastation of that too, from those families. Right. And so that was a saving grace of mine in the end. Was I got to that point where I didn't want to be here anymore. And I remembered that, right? That, man, I remembered what happened to those families afterwards. So I got to see it. And so that helped me kind of go, all right, I'm not doing that. I'm not going that route. I got to go do something else. I got to get help. And, so would you say that, to me, that was a Life Warrior decision you made right then, right? It was, what do I do? Let's make that decision right now. I'm going to admit myself into this psych ward thing for five days. Was that one of those, would you say that was a Life Warrior moment of that definitely altered the course of your path to be where you are now?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I probably wouldn't be here today if I didn't do that. And I
Yeah.
know ultimately my decision. I mean, if God wanted to take me, he could have took me at
Right.
many times before. And so I was almost like, what am I still doing here? Like,
And so that being said, right? So what am I still doing here? Um, I always People always ask me, how'd you get out of it, or how do you move every day? What is your thought process every day? Um, and I always tell people I had to wake up every day and come up with a why. And what is it today? And sometimes that why is different. It changes. Now I got kids, you got kid. That's always a why. That's a given. And but it's not always enough. You know, it's just not. Sometimes it's, just having kids and whatever is not enough. There's got to be something else. And it could be something as dumb as, I got to get my workout in today, or just whatever that is. Make my bed, brush my teeth, you know, make my meals for the day, whatever that is. Do you go through that process every day right now?
oh yeah, and you mentioned the brushing the teeth. So uh, I I had neglected going to the dentist for quite a while, uh, and when I started to kind of come out of the fog, 2017 and then early 2018, I went to the dentist, and I think there was, between front and back cavities, I had like over 20, and so I had like 5 or 6 different appointments just to get the teeth back to like where they should have been. And and it still is. It's kind of embarrassing to talk about. And showering. I mean, it's like, oh well, yeah, don't you get a shower every day? Like, no, and well, like if I'm doing something and it's on camera, or if I'm going somewhere and I'm going to be in front of people, like, yeah, like I'll do that.
Yeah.
But I still today, make kind of these excuses. And my teeth, I was really quite embarrassed about it. And then I had braces when I was growing up,
Yeah.
and the research was you didn't need a retainer, and so my
Yeah.
bottom teeth got all kind of, and that was a bit embarrassing for me to like even talk about it. And as we're talking today and yesterday, I decided earlier this year to do the Invisalign to get my smile corrected. And
Yeah.
from I say like a self care, that hey, this is something small. To some people, this is like huge to me, and to see the transformation now to be close to the end, it's just incredible. So
Yeah.
yeah, watching and listening, the thing, like, it, don't worry about it. Like, do what you can, and I said there's always going to be another day, and if you're worried about there's going to be another day, you're going to be put in a situation to do what you're really meant to do. And I know,
Yeah.
like, Life War United with you, Voices for Voices, the House of You with me, those are things that we're looking at. Not just we're looking at individuals, but we're looking at the bigger scale of
Yeah.
I want to create change. I want to leave a legacy to my daughter.
There you go.
Those are the types of things that I
Right.
want.
That's a huge thing, right? And so you talked about that. So Voices for Voices, I know what it's about. You know what it's about, but my people don't know what it's about.
Mhm.
Tell a little bit about that.
Yeah, so Voice for Voices, so I started it as I wanted to give individuals, no matter what their voice is, so whether they're able to speak, whether they're able to play an instrument, whether they play a sport, however they're using their voice, or they do sign language. Some people might not be good speakers, or they might not be able to. And so we all kind of express ourselves in different ways. And so the organization started as a once a year event where we would bring all types of people together and just showcase that in person and virtually. And so we had special needs orchestras playing, which I'm now semi a part of, because you think of special needs, you think like somebody that can't do anything for themselves. But
Right.
now disabilities and and having depression and the different things that I have, uh, I I fit in now with that group. And so they had a they had their annual gala last weekend, and so now I haven't picked up a guitar uh, probably since I was in my 20s, and I started to decide like I don't have a band to join, but I need to start doing some of these art things that I like to do.
Right.
And so we had that in 2020, that first event, and then I was thinking like I wanted to do more than just once a year event. And
Yeah.
so the organization came about and 501c did all that paperwork. Uh, and so we have a pretty cool TV show and podcast every Wednesday, brand new episode. We dropped episode before yesterday, and we talk to people all walks of life, all backgrounds. Uh, we want to give individuals the ability to share their voice, and then we also want to help individuals if we're able to, through funding, individuals that are at that breaking point and they want to go start to get that help. Uh, Even with insurance, my 5 day stay 7 years ago was $20,000,
Yeah.
and many people that have just that type of money laying around. And
Yeah.
I fall in to a supposed demographic that like, oh, you can pay for it. But that was one of the things that I was so concerned about. Like, I don't know how I'm going to pay for this. So like, I can't go down this road. And it
Right.
wasn't my dad. He was saying like, don't worry about it. And so then that event happened in the truck, like in a short period of time. And so I knew there were reasons why that happened. So we try to sponsor people because we know that individuals that they're going to have a bill, whether it's a copay or a large bill or a small bill, and we where we can. But the overarching goal, kind of, I look at St. Jude's, down in for us, because I'm in Ohio, I say down south.
All right.
Helping the kids with cancer. I want Voices to someday have a property where we have the all the care mental health wise, where somebody from off the street can walk in and get that help. Now we have recovery houses where today where they 10 beds or 20 beds, but there's still that insurance side of things, and then if Medicare, Medicaid, and all that. But I don't want to have any of that. I just want a place that's safe for individuals to feel comfortable. And I don't know when, if that'll come, but that's kind of that big goal and that life changing thing that even if I don't reach that in my lifetime, I still have that that big goal of helping 3 billion people. And will I hit the goal? I don't know, but
Yeah.
we're doing
No,
good.
I like that whole, I'm trying to help 3 billion people. And, and for me, I kind of have that same goal, but I was telling somebody the other day, if I think about, I'm this way, and I don't know if you're this way. If I think about 3 billion,
Yeah.
You're like, man, holy shit, 3 billion people. Like, and so it's just like my workouts. I was telling somebody that I have to break it down into going, okay, this set, all I got to do is get 8 reps. That's all I got to worry about is 8 reps. That's it. And then move to the next. And so I've kind of brought that to LifeWarrior. It's like, all I got to do, this person just reached out. They're talking about their husband's being abusive and I don't know how to get out and this thing. Okay. All I got to do right now is try to help this person right now. And by doing that, there's been, I think there's 8 people now who've reached out and said, hey, because of your podcast or your live, I was down that path of, I was going to take my life and I decided to go a different way. So I'm like, well, that's 8 people. That's 8 people saved right there. And so just one at a time, right? That's all but the thing is, it's just like networking, right? Or marketing. And people, you say you help that person. How many people are they going to help, and how many people are they going to help? And I don't know if I could ever track 3 billion,
Me neither. And I'm trying.
right? Right. Because you don't know how many people they're going to affect and they're going to help, down the road. You don't know. But my dad always said the goal is to just leave this world a better place than you found it. And that was it. Right. And that's kind of LifeWarriors. And it's funny you say that about the property, but that's my goal, right? We're already looking, and eventually we will have what I call LifeWarrior Ranch in Tennessee. And it'll be the same thing. I'll have a podcast studio. We'll have a couple, maybe tiny homes or something for people to come stay at the ranch, bring their families, come on the podcast, tell their LifeWarrior story, but enjoy relaxing and hanging out in the country and on a ranch. And one of the ladies that was on my live, Amanda, on my podcast, Amanda, if you watch her LifeWarrior story of abuse, severe abuse she took from her husband, almost killed her. She took that and now as a degree, his master's degree as a licensed therapist, and through my lives and being part of Life Warrior, people are reaching out to her like crazy for help. And so through her, Life Warrior has helped tons. And so Voices for Voices, I feel like it's probably doing the exact same thing. Like you said, whether you'll be able to track 3 billion, I don't know. But all the episodes you're doing, who knows who it's helping, right? You don't know. And that's the awesome thing. And so I always ask this at the end, right? So after all the things you've been through, you've experienced in your life, right? And from the time you were a kid till now, if you had um, two major pieces of advice, what I call Life Warrior advice, to give to anybody who has gone down the path that you've gone, what would those be?
Wow. I would probably say it's okay. And it's very simple. It's okay. Like right at this instant, it's okay. It might not be okay the next instant, might not be okay tomorrow. Getting back to I just need eight reps to do. I'm okay right now. And I learned that from one of my counselors coming out of the hospital. He said, he goes, "You're safe and you're okay." He goes, "Right now you are." And to this day, as I'm sharing now, that's one of uh, the positive ruminations that I have, where I tell myself I'm safe, I'm okay, and that gets through situations and fear. So I would tell somebody, at this moment, you're safe, you're okay. And then, secondly, we talked about kind of these grandiose ideas. I would say dream, and that's one thing that my parents, uh, and it's not even the money side. It's just more being there as people who are supporting. And again, it's not even just about money. Just I'm giving you this kind of good headspace material, that dream. And I remember uh, many years ago, more than 7, when I first got my first teaching assignment, and I had wanted to do it like for so long, and I was living 2 hours away, and my mom sent me a Mickey Mouse card, and it was something to the effect of, if you dream, like your dreams will come true, and so continue to do that. And so back to, will we help 3 billion? I don't know. But by setting that big of a goal, it gives the daily tasks more meaning, because I'm
Right,
going to help one person. And now what am I going to do? So I
right,
would say, I'm safe, I'm okay. And I would say dream. And if you don't have people around you that are helping facilitate that, as hard as it was, I've lost tons of friends, and the friends I have now and the people I associate, how you and I even came to even know each other, and that there was a reason for that, and the dream of, like, yeah, I want to reach out to Elson and Miss Anna and help them tell their story, and then I could have sent the award, I could have mailed it, but I'm like,
yep,
no, I want to meet them in person, because
yeah,
it's going to mean much more. And by doing that, I was able to meet you,
yeah,
and by meeting you, I was able to reach out and say, hey, Ted Cruz, we maybe
yeah,
have you on the show.
yeah,
And now that's something that's going to happen at some point
yeah.
down the road.
Man, that's awesome. So I'm the same, man. I don't ever, I don't think anything happens by chance. I really, you know, um, everything truly does happen for a reason. And sometimes that's hard to grasp a hold of, because bad shit happens.
Yeah.
You know, in the fire department, that's, I mean, you're like, and so, you know, even going through it, it was like, for a long time, I was like, I was trying to figure out meaning, life meaning, right? Like, man, the first CPR I did was on a 3-month-old who passed away, and I've done CPR on a 103-year-old that lived another year and a half. And so you're like, where is the rhyme or reason in that? Why did this 3-month-old only get 3 months on this planet, and this person lived through depressions, world wars, the whole 9 yards, got to see the whole experience, and you know, and was ready to go. Like she's, you know, and why does she get to stay here that long? And so I had to just go back to understanding that, man, there's a reason for everything, even bad stuff. There is, and you just, man, you got to figure out what it is. But if you sit around and think about that all the time, like, what is the meaning? What is the reason? Why, you know, it'll drive you nuts. It'll drive you crazy. And that's, you know, that was part of my issue too. And so again, I had that same feeling about meeting you, and you actually coming here and giving them that award and us being able to talk. And even now, you know, the realization that we have the same dream, same idea, really. Two people had no idea who we each other was. Our life experiences were two different, complete life experiences. Um, and, but in the end, we have the same goal, same dream to do the same thing. And so nothing happens by chance, man. And, so, um, man, that's a positive story. And the cool thing is, right, that you went through all of that, like you said, from 17 to 37, you know, of doing that whole thing, and then making that decision of, man, I'm going to have to check myself in here, and going down that road. And here people, I want people to understand, you still have to deal with it every day.
Absolutely.
It's not that you've completely escaped it, and you're like, man, I'm 100% perfect now. Like you said, it's a daily thing that you deal with for the rest of your life. But your story shows people that there are bigger things, and you just have to dream. You just have to, every day. I'm the same. I used to not believe in manifestation stuff. I do. I'm more inclined to that now, that if you speak it and continue to speak it, eventually, whatever reason,
Mm-hmm.
whether it makes you believe it or it brings energies, I don't have a clue. I believe that that's the case, and that's exactly why Life Warrior has started. You know, a year ago, over a year ago for me, starting this. And so, man, that's a great story, and super impressive, you know, that you've been able to come out of it and doing what you're doing. Um, I hope Voices for Voices blows up, just like I hope Life Warrior United blows up, because you and I, you know, we'll talk, and my goal is to, you know, you and I to help as many people as we can together. And if you're successful, then Life Warrior's successful. And if we're both successful, that means maybe we do reach 3 billion people, you know, and that's the goal. So, Justin, I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you. Like I said, man, men need to understand it's a hard thing to tell that kind of stuff. But in those super dark places is where I found the absolute best parts. The reminder of, I don't quit. I've never given up on anything. I'm not a coward. I'm not, you know, all these things, like, you know, that's not me. And so I had to go there to be reminded of it. And so I'll carry that with me. And I feel like you're kind of the same. You had to go to that dark place, finally go to that dark place to go, all right, time to dig in now and, and find a bigger purpose. So I appreciate you coming on, telling your story. I appreciate you giving my daughter and my wife a platform to tell their story. Because it gets it out there more and more, and it's crazy what's happening with that story. And so,
and their episodes coming out Christmas Day. So
when's it coming out?
it's coming out Christmas Day.
Oh, is it really? That's
It'll
awesome.
live.
That's awesome.
The Christmas is on Wednesday, so that obviously get that information. So it's another one of those reasons that
Yeah.
you never know. You just
Yeah.
go and so I know it's gonna help even more people.
Yeah. And I appreciate you giving me, I did your podcast too, and I appreciate you giving me that platform, because brotherhood and the fire department and trying to get people back into that will to serve is important to me, because it's died a little bit, and there's a reason for it. And so if I can do anything to help get that brotherhood back and that will to serve other people, that's my goal. So I appreciate you letting me do that. Y'all, great story from Justin Allen Hayes. Anybody out there that is going through what he went through now, man, I know he wouldn't be scared to listen, and I wouldn't either. And reach out to me, reach out to him, whoever, just reach out to somebody. Don't wait 7 years or 17 years or however long. Don't wait, because it don't get better. It won't get better. You got to find somebody to help. So, great Life Warrior message tonight, Justin, and I appreciate you coming on. Y'all, go check out the episode, like and subscribe to the YouTube page. We're going to try and get this Life Warrior message out there to more and more people, and hopefully one of these days, 3 billion people get the message. So much appreciated, Justin. Y'all have a good night. Remember, I always say, tomorrow, put your feet on the floor, stand up, and go do Life Warrior shit. Peace.
Thank you.